Get ready to build strength, power, and slabs of lean muscle. Welcome to the Super Strength Show, featuring motivating stories of success and no BS straight talk from the greatest in the iron game today. Now, here's your host, Ray Tulane.
What's up, Strength Maniacs, and thanks for tuning in. I'm pleased to welcome today's guest, Luke Propst. Luke earned a master's degree in exercise physiology while pursuing a successful powerlifting and athletic career. He played college soccer and semi-professional football and still competes as a top USAPL powerlifter. Luke has worked with Division I and II college teams and private clients through his own Predator Strength training studio. Luke's detailed training approach for athletes, weightlifters, and physique competitors combines the best of pure performance with safety and restorative principles in mind. He remains active as a teacher and as a student, always furthering his expertise. As the training director of the Diet Doc, Luke helps develop training resources and curriculum to assist license owners and clients. You can connect with him by visiting his website, predatorstrengthtraining.com. Again, that's predatorstrengthtraining.com. Or you could also go to thedietdoc.com. Luke, welcome to the show. Really looking forward to this. This is a pleasure for me here. You got a great background. I'd love it if you could maybe share a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Ray. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your listeners. For me, I kind of had, I would say, more like a typical starting point for this. I was really small in high school and wanted to play sports. So I, got into lifting weights, and that process of wanting to be better and knowing that I needed to learn more about the whole, how the body responds, what the best way to do it is, kind of started back then. It transitioned through my undergrad career, and I started to realize how little I knew, and I needed to expand upon that. I worked in some rehab settings. I worked with kids in sports, realized I needed more than that, and decided to go back and get my master's and just further my education so that I could help myself. Originally was the goal. And then it translated into learning more and more so I could help my clients as well, as I kind of transitioned into training as a career.
Excellent. So, I mean, it's interesting that you seem to be a high-level powerlifter, and at the same time, you were also involved in quite a bit of athletics. How'd you balance those two?
You know what? To be totally honest, I didn't balance them that well. I won't lie. Even when I was younger in high school and everything, I kind of got hurt a lot. Just no major injuries, nothing real big, but I was always dinged up. I always had something kind of bugging me. And it wasn't ever from training. It was always from the sport aspect. Had surgery here and there, lots of always trying to fix things. Even recently, I still wanted to be athletic and playing sports and stuff like that. And I kind of came to the point where I needed to pick. I could keep playing at a moderately high level athletics, nothing professional, of course, but I was always kind of dealing with some sort of injury, and it really held me back in my powerlifting. And so really recently, in the last couple months, I decided that I was going to stop pursuing the sport aspect in athletics, even though that's what got me started. It was my first kind of love of lifting. Like, that's why I started doing it. But powerlifting has become more important to me. So I cut out playing football and stuff like that and have been able to focus more. So yeah, you're kind of put me on the spot there. I didn't balance it very well. It was a little tough.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be challenging when you're really pushing the training side and then you try to compete at a high level with athletics. I mean, that's why a lot of athletes, they have off-season training where, they'll go after their training pretty hard, resistance training and whatnot, and then they go into maintenance mode during the on-season.
Right. And I honestly, for my personality, I didn't want to do the maintenance mode. I always wanted to push for more, and it was probably more than my little body could handle, to be honest.
That's okay. I think more than a few of us are guilty of, being that type of hard-charging type A personality. So.
Right. And it's really easy for me to tell my clients, okay, you have to find that balance. You have to, you only have so much recovery capacity to deal with the sport and the abuse that puts on you, and also the training and the stress and abuse from that. But when it comes to yourself, it's if no one's telling you that, it's hard to listen to what you know is right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get into the first main question here of the show, and that's sharing one of your favorite success quotes and an example of how you've applied its meaning to your training in life.
Okay, I don't know where I heard this or even if it's a quote and I just kind of mutated it into something. But the thing that kind of runs through my mind is just a little better every day. And it's very much like the Kaizen principle,
Mhm.
where in some aspect, I just need to make some type of improvement, whether that's adding 2.5s onto the bar or just dialing in my nutrition a little bit better to make sure I am recovering, improving my stability and how I hold my rib cage and stuff like that in a lift. So as long as I'm finding some way to get a little better, and there's so many aspects that can cover,
Mhm.
not just the training in the gym, that's how I want to approach the whole gamut, whether it's also from an educational standpoint. You can learn so much from different aspects, not just how do I add weight to the bar. So I'm always trying to get a little better, a little smarter, a little more patient, just in some way, a little better.
Yeah, it's kind of like a few of our past guests, more recently Mark Perry and many others have mentioned approaching your training like practice, right? So strength, practice your skill at being strong, or even if it's bodybuilding, at performing that movement correctly, and just focus on always improving, always improving.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not, me personally, I'm a power lifter. So my primary focus is getting more weight on that bar.
Yep.
But sometimes the best thing you can do is leave the weight the same and improve the quality of that rep. Make it more smooth, more controlled, more explosive, stay a little tighter in your setup. All those things are really, really important. It's not always just, all right, throw some more plates on.
Exactly. Yeah, you want quality reps, right?
Exactly. You can practice with heavier and heavier weight, but if your technique starts to suffer, when you get ready to hit those max lifts and your technique is shaky and it's not solid and really nailed down, something either bad's going to happen or it's just going to get stapled onto your chest or the floor or wherever you're at. So you
Yeah.
really have to have, you're working towards perfection of that skill. My skill happens to be a lift. Some other people's skill might be, their sprinting mechanics or just whatever it is, making that skill as perfect as you can, that process of getting more perfect.
Definitely. Definitely. I like that. Okay, let's go into sharing a story of a time in your training when you encountered a major challenge. If you could take us to that time in your life and tell us the story and then share the lessons that you learned.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This was quite a few years ago. I was getting ready to play semi-pro football. I realized that was something I could still do. I had graduated college and my athletic career was over, but I realized there was some more opportunities to keep going. So I was doing some sprint training, trying to get back to being fast or what I thought was fast. And I tore the long head of my biceps femoris completely in half.
Oh,
Just literally avulsed it, just shredded it right through the middle of the muscle belly.
how did that
So
happen?
what? I'm sorry?
How did that happen?
I was running sprints,
Oh,
just
man.
doing some 40s. Nothing tricky. I had warmed up well. Like in my mind, it shouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
I had done what at the time I thought was the right stuff to get there. Through the process of this, I learned that while I was warm and ready, I had some serious strength imbalances. I basically had strengthened my quads and hip flexors to the point where my hamstring could not eccentrically control how hard I could kick forward,
Hmm.
and I kicked off my own hamstring.
Oh,
Um,
man. Brutal.
yeah, so one, I learned that there was some stuff I had been neglecting in my own training as far as balance and keeping myself in a safe place. Then I had to deal with one, the injury, then coming back from that injury and dealing with lots of recurring hamstring pulls and tears on that side because now I just had a lot less tissue.
Hmm.
And it took a lot of years and it taught me to be really patient that I couldn't push that side like I used to be able to.
Hmm.
And I've gotten to the point where I'm strong on both sides. I have some pretty good balance there. But when I try and dial down, if I'm doing like some bodybuilding type of work and I want to isolate that hamstring from other muscles, it's just weaker. That's something I'm always going to have to deal with because there's just not as much there anymore. I've found ways to balance my strength using other muscles around it. But if I want to look down right at that hamstring, it's never going to be the same.
Well, that's
But
a pretty serious injury that you went through.
it's pretty big. I was at a seminar not too long ago, and Buddy Morris,
Hmm.
who is an amazing strength coach and has been doing it for a long time, really kind of one of the first. I had him take a look at it. I wanted his advice. What could I still do? And this is, I guess it's over 15 years ago that I got this injury, but
Hmm.
it's always something I want to improve upon. And Buddy Morris, with more years of being a strength coach, I think, than I've got on the planet, he said, I've never seen anything like that.
Wow.
So I really knew. I was like, wow, I did a number on myself. But the lessons I learned from it is, one, I really need to pay attention in me, and then also carry this over to my clients in that balance. You got to have strength from the front to the back and the sides, and to be able to control not only chaotic events outside, but I mean, I hurt myself. I kicked my own leg off essentially.
Oh
So you
man.
want to make sure that you're not allowing your training to put you in an unsafe place. And the other part of that was, you really can overcome anything with enough time and being patient and learning what you need to do.
Hmm.
I mean, that really could have kind of ended any kind of competitive athletic approach for me, but I was either too smart or too stupid, too stubborn at least, to let it stop me. And it took a lot of years, but I think I'm in a fairly balanced place where I can lift and compete safely.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Damn. Um, it just that must have been. Did it make a sound when that tore that way that it did, or just?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was in the middle of a dead sprint, and loud pop, and just the leg collapsed, face first into the dirt. I wasn't even sure what had happened at first. I literally crawled over to my shoes, took my cleats off and squished my way into my shoes and drove home, and was like, this is going to be interesting. I knew there was, it was big.
okay. How do you know to? I guess how do you make sure that things are balanced? What's a way to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing training wise, things are staying balanced? I mean, is it as simple as saying you should be able to do so much in this movement, and then you should be able to do so much in this other movement? This.
I definitely think that that's a part of it. There are resources where you can look up and see if I can do, if my quads are this strong, my hamstrings need to be this strong. But it really was just balance in my training. I did a lot of squats, I did a lot of jumps, I did a lot of things like that. At this point in my career, I didn't do deadlifts. I didn't really do anything to make my hamstring stronger specifically. And from the hamstrings, especially, you need to have that eccentric control. And I just didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't train to be able to handle those kind of forces on an eccentric component. So you want to put yourself in the safest place for those areas that I mean, this isn't, it's not uncommon to pull a hammy doing this type of
Right.
thing, even when you're warm. So it was just a matter of me being ignorant in how I should structure my training to keep myself safe.
Okay. Maybe as we progress through the interview, you can possibly point us into maybe a direction where we can find some of this information, a resource of some sort.
Okay.
That'd be great. Okay. Let's get to the next one here, which is sharing a story of a time in your training when you had a breakthrough moment. And if you could take us back, tell us the steps that you took to turn that light bulb moment into success.
Okay. I was working at a private personal training studio, and it was a very kind of high quality studio, high class. And I was kind of the new kid on the block, just out of working in some box gyms, and didn't really know too much as far as training went. And we had the opportunity to have Dave Tate and Jim Wendler come out and do a seminar on powerlifting technique and training. And at the time, I had been dabbling on, some websites, trying to learn some stuff just to get stronger, not specifically for powerlifting yet, but just those ideas to help me lift more weight. That's, has always been a goal of mine. And listening to the two of them, one, talk in the seminar, But then also afterwards at dinner, just in their, kind of cut loose and conversational patterns, I realized one, I didn't know very much, especially from a powerlifting standpoint. And just it really showed me that there was so much more that I could dig down into learn about how to get me and then also my clients stronger. It changed my approach to how I lifted and then also kind of how I approached learning about lifting. I wanted to get out there, find the people that were the best,
Mhm.
and then learn from them. And that's still something that I work towards. I want to find the best at breathing stabilization, the best at powerlifting itself in whatever form you're looking at. So I just started devouring information from the websites and kind of searching out where I could find best information to apply to me and my clients. And it also gave me a little love for powerlifting. That's when I first decided to start competing.
Yeah, it's kind of quite the adventure when you start seeking out wise people at the top of the mountain to learn from them. It's quite humbling when you start to realize how little you knew. You didn't even realize that you didn't even know some of these things, right?
Yeah, exactly. It put me in a place where I'm thinking, I think I'm pretty strong. And then I see someone take a weight that is what I think is heavy and they play with it and move it faster than I've ever seen a weight moved. I'm like, okay, there's some stuff I don't know and I really need to work on it. It opens your eyes to say, all right,
But
there's a lot more for me to learn.
yeah, exactly, which is exciting because that's going to result in so much more progress, right?
Absolutely. When you're able to say, all right, I don't know that much. There's people out there that know more and I want to find them and then learn that. It's going to make you so much better. I mean, exponentially. It can really happen fast too. Those little tips and tricks, and I don't even like that word trick, but it really can be monumental in your evolution as a lifter and a coach. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the benefits of being able to talk to so many guys like yourself, right? I mean, I learn myself so much with every conversation. Yeah, it's hard to beat getting that one-on-one time with some of the greats, some of the people who do very well at whatever endeavor they're in. I mean, it's just amazing how much you can learn.
It's very true. And I'm going to use this word intentionally, very lucky
Mhm.
in some of the experiences I've had to be around some of those. I was actually debating on using this story, and I'm going to sneak it in here real quick. I was extremely lucky to be able to go to the late Mel Siff's super training camp
Oh, okay.
at his house out in Colorado. So, and this was a few years ago, of course, but it was shortly before he passed and is no longer with us. But the amount of information I gained in 3 days at his house surpassed the amount I had gained in the previous 15 years of
Yeah.
lifting. It was truly astounding. And some of it was honestly the most simple things you could possibly imagine. We had one of the other coaches that was there at the camp with us told Mel Siff that he couldn't squat. Like he just couldn't, he thought in his head he really couldn't squat. And this is an educated trainer. He knows how to help people. And Mel Siff just looked at him like, I'm going to prove you wrong and I'm going to do it really easy. You could just see it in this look that he gives him. And he puts him into a squat. He's like, just squat as high as you can, or as low as you can. No, it doesn't matter how high that is. And he sits him into it. And then the coach then tries to stand up. He's like, no, stay there. And he just sits him there. And
Mhm.
this takes probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And as he fatigues, he just sinks lower and lower into his squat. He's getting tired. He won't let him stand up. By the end of it, he's in a full depth squat, and he helps him stand up because he's tired and he's kind of shaking and sweating from this. He just looks at him. He's like, "Yes, you can," and turns around and moves on to the next topic. It
Just
was the simplest but the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It
yeah,
was
just like that, huh?
Yeah, just like that. He's like, "Yep, yeah, you can." Now you have to, and he would need to practice that technique and get down there, but it just broke open this mental block that I just can't squat.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
just need someone to show you that you can sometimes.
They say a conversation across a table with a wise man or woman is worth a month's reading of books. So With that being said, we are sitting across a virtual table right now with the wise man, Luke, and we'll be right back after this break. Be right back, guys. The world of working out is seriously confusing at first. It punishes uneducated lifters with years of poor gains and injuries, and rewards smart ones with slabs of lean muscle and superhuman strength. If you don't know if you're using the right form, have hit a plateau, or things just seem a whole lot more confusing than you thought they'd be, I want to help you out. Let me save you from wasting time and money on BS advice and sweating away in the gym with little to nothing to show for it. Head on over to www.instantstrength.com to get access to your free report titled Instant Strength, the one little trick that will instantly boost your strength by 10 pounds or more in your main lifts. Whether you're a novice lifter or have years of experience in the iron game, this is a very helpful resource that you can either apply to your own training or use as a helpful guide to teach others. Stop wasting time and effort in the gym and get the info you need to maximize your gains and minimize your risk for injury. Visit www.instantstrength.com and get your free report today. All right, guys, we're back with our guest, Luke Propst. And Luke, I'm wondering, what achievement are you most proud of when it comes to your training?
Well, it's actually my very first powerlifting meet. And it's not because I set huge totals and did all this amazing lifting. There was none of that. It was that I got my rear end out there and did it. I didn't have a powerlifting coach at the time. I was really kind of just running it on my own through reading on the internet. And I wanted to have some sort of competitive outlet still. And I thought I could do it at a high level, or at least, medium high level. And I had looked at strongman and powerlifting as kind of the next step for me. And to be totally honest, I'm pretty short and I kind of have small hands. Mm-hmm. So I decided, well, let me start with powerlifting because I don't think my grip and ability to lift things high in the air is quite ready for strongman. And then if I don't like it, then I'll try strongman and see if I like that one better. So I just picked a meet that was local. I didn't have to travel and put extra kind of stress on it. I just wanted to get out there and see if it was fun, and did my first powerlifting meet, totally fell in love with it. I did win my weight class, which was really cool. I liked that, but I set PRs in all 3 of my lifts. I think there was a little bit of adrenaline work that helped me with that one, being, kind of new to this.
Right.
But that really is my proudest achievement, in that I didn't let fear of the unknown stop me from trying something new. And now I love it. And it's a really big part of my life.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Face those fears, right? Do the thing and fear just kind of falls by the wayside, right?
Yeah. I was completely nervous up until the first squat command and kind of terrified, but I knew that it was going to be worth it. So I just got myself out there and gave it a shot.
Excellent. Awesome. And it's a great environment too to be in. A lot of people, I think, have possibly wrong opinions on what a powerlifting meet is like. And would you say that it's supportive? Would you say that, or is there more hostility when you're at these meets?
That's a great question. It is the most supportive athletic event thing that I've ever been around.
Yeah.
I still talk to people that were at that first meet with me. It's been years, but we remember each other. We come up, see, how are you doing? Where's your lifts at? That thing that I talked to you about last time, did you practice that? My very first meet, people came and there was some older lifters there that had been around a while, and I think they knew I was a little lost and just kind of wasn't sure what to do in the warm-up route, and they really kind of said, okay, just, take it easy. Maybe you would want to change your grip here a little bit, but don't do it today. But that's something to think about for later on. They really kind of gave me some advice, being nobody. They just saw someone out there that might need a little help. And I remember on my second meet thinking, oh, I know everything. I helped a new lifter. I could see him that he was a little lost, and I wanted to be supportive like the people that had supported me. And I gave him some advice about being really patient and waiting for the rack command on your first squat. That's where people make a lot of mistakes, as they're kind of nervous and jacked up and excited. So I tell him, and he does his first squat and he waits for it, and he comes back as we're passing. He's like, thanks, man. That really helped. It slowed me down. And then I walked out there and I missed the rack command and lost the lift. not related, but just kind of funny that I was like, all right, I'm going to help this guy. And I totally forgot what I was supposed to do. But yeah, it's definitely really, really supportive. Everyone in the back is cheering your lifts on. When you see someone just really trying to grind out a lift, all of the other lifters are behind them and screaming and cheering, even if they're in your same weight class, even if they're just 5 pounds away from you at your total, they're really supportive, much more so than you would expect.
Yeah, and that's the thing that surprised a lot of people. We had a guest on the show, I believe it was Chris Rice, and he had said, you really learn when you go to these meets because you get all of these people who are, think about it, they're high level or at least dedicated competitors, lifters. They're all into the same thing you're into. And even if it's not someone who won first place, second, third, fourth place, I mean, you could learn from anybody. So you go to these meetings, these meets, sorry, and you got this like brain pool of people all there. And it's just a fantastic environment to learn from. And like you said, it's so supportive. So yeah.
Absolutely. And just real quick, the technique cues that you can get, like say you miss your third squat, you go into the back and there's a lot of years of experience that might have some insight as to why you missed that lift. Something that whether it was too heavy or knee cave, some little thing that they could help you with for the next time you get back out there.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what makes it so great, right? A lot of people see powerlifting, they see it as, and you know what? A lot of competitions, strongman, a lot of those competitions, it's exactly what it is. It's like this family, this brotherhood kind of camaraderie that everyone pulls and roots for each other. It's fantastic. I'm sure CrossFit probably has an aspect to it like that as well. But they see some of these strength sports and, you got these big dudes and these big beards and tattoos and stuff. And they think they just, are looking to kill each other or something, right? And that's not the case whatsoever.
No, some of the scariest looking of these lifters, these just monsters with, like you said, crazy beards and tattoos and mohawks and all this stuff. It looks like a biker convention.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the most humble because they realize what it takes to really build strength.
Yep,
And there's no pride behind it. They've burned through that to get to where they were.
Yeah. High-level martial artists are the same way too. High-level athletes, they realize it's dedication, training, practice, and that's how they got good. It wasn't like they were just born good like this. And they see others who are trying to achieve the same, and I think there's like this mutual respect. They identify with that. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Luke, how about you tell us, you've been through a lot. You had that injury, which you're now recovering from, and sounds like you're doing quite a bit better. After all of this, I'm wondering, what's one thing that has you amped up to train nowadays?
I am in a place where, after a period of stagnation, dealing with some kind of recurring nagging injuries that I've had, I'm healthy and feeling strong and hitting PRs just in training, not even in testing. They're just coming. And I just feel that some of the technique work that I've recently been kind of applying and adding some new things into my training, I'm just really amped up for my next meet. And I feel I can blow away my old numbers and just really do well. So it's just a combination of I'm finally healthy. I've added some new things that I've been studying and learning about, and I'm really kind of giddy to see how much farther I can take it after a couple years of not making a lot of improvements.
That's awesome. Yeah. Love it, man. When that fire's still there, that hunger, growth. And that, I think a part of that comes from learning more, because the more you learn, the more you realize that there's more for you to learn and benefit from. And I think that kind of fuels your kind of hunger, desire to train. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And not even just your desire to train, but also to see what else is out there.
Right.
Say I learn a new technique or a new variation of an exercise that I really respond well to, and I put it in my training and I reap the benefits, then you look at what else can I learn? Who else can I look to that I can steal some stuff from to make myself even better?
Exactly. Love it, man. I love it. Okay. We're coming up on the superset round, and this is a series of rapid fire Q&A. So whenever you're ready, I'll start shooting them off.
All right, let's get it.
All right, first one. Who inspired you to start lifting?
My high school wrestling and football coach, Steve Nikolopoulos.
Steve Nikolopoulos. I'm going to guess that's a Greek name.
Coach Nick. It's a great, big, strong Greek. You did not mess with Coach Nick. But my sophomore year, after the football season had ended, he was my wrestling coach and also the varsity coach. He looked at me and said, "Do you want to play football in varsity next year?" I was like, "Well, yeah." "Well, better hit the weights because I was really small back then, just kind of a tiny little guy. I had wrestled, I think it was 124s or something like that. So pretty little guy to want to play football. And that's what it was. I said, all right. So then I went to hit the weight room and kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, the iron bug struck, right?
Pretty much hit me pretty hard.
Sunk its mandibles in deep. All right. What is the best advice you ever received when it comes to training and lifting? Training and life, sorry.
A trainer that I worked with who had a lot more experience than me looked at the way I trained and how I approached my own training and my clients. And she said something that stuck with me really strongly. She said I was an instinctive trainer. And she told me that I needed to run with that, to use it. And then from that conversation, I've come across the realization and even a whole bunch of book knowledge and education that I need to feel the lifts and I need to feel the programming that I want to prescribe to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So to this day, if I'm going to give somebody a program, know that I've done it first.
Nice.
It's just how I conceptualize it and then can find a way to apply it to whatever that person's goal is I just have to feel it out. You know, if I read something in a book, I have to then try it out in the weight room to know what that means to me.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So in other words, those recommendations are coming from experience, which is a great thing. It's not just something you're pulling out of the air and don't even know if it really works or not or how it makes people feel, right?
Right. Now, there are definitely times where someone needs to be a guinea pig, but just know that I was the guinea pig first.
There you go.
I tried it there. How am I going to describe how it should feel to you or what cues are going to work if I've never used it on myself?
Yeah, definitely a sign of a real good trainer and teacher. Definitely. Okay, how about this one? What's a great piece of advice you currently follow, but you heard in the past and didn't follow it back then? And looking back, you think to yourself, you know what? I should have followed that sooner.
I don't even know how to verbalize it because I've probably heard it 1,000 times, many different ways, and just never listened to not get paralyzed by analysis. When I was younger, I definitely tried to learn the best tricks and the best new programs and program hopped to find the magic pill and all that stuff. And I've really kind of slowed down on my experimentation and given things some time to coalesce and really see how the body responds. You got to be patient with those things and give something some time to work out and to feel it out and to know what's going to work. I just tried to run too fast with too many things to find the magic pill.
Yeah.
And I should have listened a long time ago.
Yeah, I think I kind of get the whole kid in a candy store kind of vibe, right? It's like, I just want to try a bit of everything and then not giving things time to work. You gotta allow them to work, right? Yeah, definitely. Good advice.
Thinking it's a magic pill in, 1 week, then now I'm, squatting 1,000. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No, not unless you've all of a sudden, somehow grafted a forklift into your body. Not going to happen. Yeah. Okay. If you could recommend one training resource for our listeners, what would it be? And Luke, it could be anything from a piece of equipment to a training program or even a book. What would you recommend?
So this might sound a little crazy. I would actually recommend taking a statistics class for exercise science.
Okay, that's new. Nice.
I thought, some people are probably already just tuned out. They're like, I'm not listening to this guy anymore.
No, I want to hear more. Let's go.
Through my master's program, one of the best things I did, and it was also the hardest because math is not my strong suit. I'll gladly admit that. If it's not in a multiple of 45, I have a really hard time counting stuff. But that statistics class teaches you how to read and interpret studies. And if you want to know what these studies are telling you and not just rely on an abstract or even kind of what the researchers want it to say, because there is bias things, that knowledge, that ability to look at other people's studies, analyze them, assess them, look at what is the difference between something that is statistically significant and it's going to show results and what is practically significant. And those aren't always the same. And that's just a function of how studies work and how many subjects there were and power analysis and things like that. But getting that basic knowledge of how to read research and interpret, I think, is invaluable.
Yeah, it's almost like learning how to learn to a certain degree, right? So you can kind of, sort out the wheat from the chaff.
You're also not dependent upon the results and abstract section. You're able to look at it, look at what they did, and go, you know what? That method I don't think is very accurate.
Hmm.
Or, your analysis of what the results were, yeah, they're statistically significant. But in the practical world, when you're looking at an athlete, is it really going to be worth that time to put in towards that technique? So it just helps you be more discerning. It's really going to help people.
Any resources for that, like any books or maybe online classes or courses they could take to learn about that?
I would actually just go to, a local JC. That's probably going to be your cheapest and best option. And you can also do online versions of it. I think that would work well.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I struggled with the math side of it because
Mhm.
there is a lot of math involved in that. So I used the teacher in person as a resource to kind of help me get that part down.
Okay.
I would also, and this is just kind of a silly recommendation, just take it credit, no credit. Doesn't matter what grade you get. You just want to learn the information that's relevant to you.
Right.
Me personally, I kind of get stuck on my grades. I want to do well. That's not the point of this. This would be to learn how to interpret. And so the grade part wouldn't be important.
Okay.
That's just an aside for me.
All right. And yeah, that doesn't kind of reflect the kind of hard charging personality that you said you had. uh, what is a JC? What do you mean by JC?
Oh, I'm sorry, like a junior college.
Okay. All right.
Just
Cool.
just local, any kind of institute of higher learning that's gonna have those programs because it doesn't matter really the subject of it, just to get that understanding of what is this statistics thing that all these research protocols are doing.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
does it mean when they say that something has a p-value or 0.05 significance? You want to understand what you're reading so then you can make your own conclusions from it.
Yeah. So somebody who's really dedicated to their training, who is serious, who says they really want results, is going to learn how to properly train. And then you need to know how to understand the various material that you're learning and studies and whatnot. So you need to be able to determine exactly what it is, you're consuming here. So you're not just taking things on face value. And that means learning the type of skills right now that you're sharing. So
Absolutely. And like I did say, it was probably going to be a little crazy. You're not going to hear that one a lot. But if you want to really know what's going on in research and what new stuff is coming out, you're going to need a way to understand it.
yeah, for sure. Knowing that kind of stuff, it'll make sure that you're not susceptible to any type of crazy conspiracy theories because you'll actually be able to understand what you're reading as opposed to just maybe making up some craziness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone throws out a claim that if you don't understand how they came about it, you might fall for. So this was going to give you that ability to discern if that's a bunch of garbage or not.
Okay, how about we go on to the next one, which is telling us something about yourself, Luke, that nobody would ever guess.
So this is going to be embarrassing. So when
It
I was in
usually
high
is.
school, when I was in, no one would really guess this. I got a beard and I got tattoos and I lift and all that, but I was actually a mime while I was in high school.
Okay, that's a first. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I didn't think anybody was gonna
Uh,
one guess that or also do that.
yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm not judging. Keep going. Okay.
You can if you want. It's okay.
No, no, that's
Um,
actually interesting. Okay.
I was real quick. I was paralyzingly shy. I
Mhm.
was a very small, new kid. I moved too much, and so I had a hard time talking. But I was involved in my youth group in high school, and that was one of the programs that they had. We would go to Mexico and do, because of the language barrier, you couldn't talk. So we could do these mimes to try and, perform for the kids and all that stuff. And it was something where I could not have to talk, but still be involved. And it worked out, but it's really embarrassing to talk about now.
No, man, it's kind of interesting. You ever put on the face paint and head out to the streets? And
No, I never did any on the street stuff. I was probably too shy to even pull that off. So
interesting. Yeah, no, definitely wouldn't have guessed that. So there you
yeah, I
go.
figured I'd win that round.
No, I think, yeah, I would say you probably have with that one. Um, okay, if you could work out with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
This is actually a pretty tough question, but I drilled down a little bit, and I would have to say Ed Cohn, the
Oh, yeah,
GOAT.
good choice.
I
Good
mean,
choice.
I think one session with him, I do a couple lifts, he gives me some pointers, and that would be it. I would kind of skyrocket fame and stardom. Not really. I'm kind of exaggerating, but I think it would be
You,
amazing to hear the cues that he would use, kind of some training principles and things like that. It would just be pretty impressive to be in the same room with him too. So,
he's still around, man. He's still doing his thing. So you never
yeah,
know,
I've,
right?
I've, uh, I actually have been in the same room with him, but I'm gonna be honest, I was a little too shy to go up and say hi.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic to get some training time with him. Ed is just an absolute legend. So how about this? What's your definition of success in the gym?
Success in the gym is improving in some aspect, some quality, getting better. Whether, it's a powerlifting thing where I can add more weight to the bar or better quality of rep, whatever it is, if I did something better that session, that was successful.
Yeah, good one. Like that. Continuing success. That is a key for sure. Okay, Luke, this next one is one we'd like to have some fun with. And when you answer it, if you could provide some specifics so our listener could take it away and apply it to the training that they're doing.
Okay.
All right, so you're doing your thing. You catch a whiff of something not smelling right. I pull up, walk into the gym. You're like, what's up, Ray? What's that funk, man? I'm like, no, it's not me, honestly. Here's the keys. DeLorean's parked outside, full tank of garbage. Going back in time, knowing what you now know, how would you structure your training to get the best results in minimum time and also set yourself up for future success?
This sounds like just a fun, simple question, but it's pretty deep. Honestly, the
That's how
most
we roll.
right? At first, I looked at it kind of silly, and I was like, "Wait, oh, that's not silly at all. That's intense." So the first thing I would do is I would find a legitimate strength training coach, and I would sit under them and perfect my technique. I wouldn't
Definitely.
worry about how much weight I got on the bar. I wouldn't, worry about how much muscle I added for when beach season comes around. I would just, those are things I did. I would
Yeah.
just focus on nailing technique, whether it's, my bench, my squat, my dead. I would also really have some intense work on the Olympic lifts. I think if my technique on the big three was just drilled in and also learned how to produce power like an Olympic lifter, a true Olympic lifter can, just that instantaneous explosion of muscle force, I think that base that you would build from that would make everything else more effective. Give me a couple years, no bad habits. Just make everything from the start as perfect as you possibly can. Then it doesn't matter what fancy technique or tricks I would use, they would all work better.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, just imagine what can happen if you had proper programming and proper form right from the get-go.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think back, when I was in high school and Coach Nick said, hit the gym, okay, that's all I knew. I needed to lift weights.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. I just, and most of us, I think, went to, Muscle and Fiction and found some magazines about powerlifters, lifted weights. So that must be what I do.
Yeah.
And to really take that time to just drill down, like I would want my workout with anyone, Ed Cohn, to be then. Let Ed Cohn
Oh,
show me how to
that.
lift from the start.
Yeah, that would be out of this world.
Oh, if the first time I touched a barbell to squat it, Ed Cohn was there showing me how to do it. Holy shnikes, what would be possible with something like that?
Yeah, that's how you get like phenoms within, a few years.
Right?
Obviously there's some genetics involved with that, but when you have proper guidance, I mean, the body, we know that the body responds to certain stimuli, proper nutrition, proper rest, and magic. I mean, literally magic can happen in a very, very short period of time. And when you learn how to do all of those things right from the get-go, I mean, yeah, just forget about it.
Oh, exactly. I mean, currently, right now, after I think 23 years of lifting, I am changing some of the things that I do. I'm changing some of my technique to make it better. If I had had 23 years of my technique being drilled in perfect,
Oh, yeah.
oh my gosh, what would I be doing now? It's kind of it's like, oh, where was someone with that DeLorean to help me out here?
Yeah, it's kind of like, like, for example, gymnastics, right? You get these like children just doing these insanely complex and challenging movements. And that, I believe, is just simply a process of, proper guidance and training. And obviously there's a dedication, the effort, but experience and the guidance is there. And just amazing things happen so quickly.
Right.
Yeah, amazing. What are a few things that you would say would be some good tips? Like, I mean, you had mentioned something about rib cage placement earlier.
Okay. So I'm currently, and I mean currently like in the past month, looking at learning more about proper breathing and stabilization of the torso. So when you look at, say you're looking at a squat, I used to just stand as hard as I could, hold my back as tight as I could, and squat as heavy as I could.
Hmm.
And that works for a while up to a point, but there is, for lack of a better term, a better way to really stabilize the pelvis, the diaphragm, the abs and the obliques and the low back to make a stronger base of support.
Hmm.
And I am watching videos and I'm going to some seminars locally in Southern California and trying to change my technique and how I stabilize. And I'm all benefits. I'm already hitting weights that I haven't hit before and doing it easier, if that makes any sense. It's just much more stable and not as much stress on my back.
Are you able to maybe explain what this is right now, or is this something that needs to be seen?
I would actually say it probably needs to be seen a little better. The person that I'm kind of stealing a lot of my information from, and I'm going to throw out, he doesn't even know about this, but I'm going to throw his name out there and give him some publicity, is Quinn Hennock.
Can you say that
And
again? I lost you there. Cut off.
Quinn Hennock, Hennock, I believe it is. I hope I didn't butcher that. But I have really made some strides in my own ability to breathe properly into a lift, and it's pretty impressive. And I got to be honest, I don't have it down yet, so I don't want to try and explain it in a way that makes it worse for people. I would go to him because that's who I'm going to.
Okay, well, how about we try this then? What's something that you were doing that is considered, quote unquote, proper form wise, and then how was that proven to maybe not ideal form, I guess, or not the most effective type of form? Just a little example.
Right. So when you're, getting ready to unrack that squat and you stick the chest up and arch really hard, those are cues that I have used in the past and heard a lot. You can actually pull and I talked about rib position earlier. You extend the ribs upwards and the pelvis rotates downwards.
Mm-hmm.
So you're real tight on the back side of the spine, the back, and extended and stretched out on the front side.
Right.
The way the diaphragm and the abs as a whole work together, you just took what is essentially a really stable column and you stretched one side and squished the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be as stable now. It's not going to be able to support as much weight effectively. So what I've been working on myself is not essentially not cranking so hard on my lower back and thinking that my lower back muscles are going to do all the work of pinching down to keep my spine safe.
Right. So you said not overarching is what you're saying?
Right. Not overarching out of a good position. Something that I used to do, the cues of arch hard and stick your chest up can actually be detrimental because it'll pull you too far and get you in a bad position.
Interesting. Yeah, that kind of echoes some of the stuff that Chris Duffin is doing right now. So
yeah, Chris Duffin I have actually watched some of his videos and it's very similar in style and substance. It's the same idea. I think there's probably a lot of people right now that are realizing and trying to promulgate this idea of how to stabilize better.
Yeah. And stabilizing, I mean, it's just the absolute key in so many ways to so many things. Get you stronger, safer, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Major key. I actually put together a free report on that for people, on this that's available on my site for people to learn more about it, because I myself, like you, after many, many years of training, kind of started to dial in some of that stuff. I thought I was doing things correctly and, it wasn't too bad and my numbers were okay, but no, it wasn't right. And it just makes a world of a difference when you get things dialed in correctly.
Right. And a lot of times we're strong in spite of ourselves. Yeah. We're not doing everything quite right, but we still have kind of managed to get some strength there. But it could be so much better if we dial that technique down better.
100% agree with you on that. Okay, Luke, we're pretty much at the end of the show here. So I want to thank you on behalf of myself and the listeners. But before we wrap it up, I wonder if you could do two things for us.
Okay.
One is let us know where we can find out more about you. And then the next one would be just sharing some parting advice.
Okay, so to get more information about me and kind of connect in that sense, you would want to go to the website www.thedietdoc.com. That's who I'm working with now. And through that website, you can get a link to our YouTube page, thedietdoc.com, where I am putting out, I try and alternate lifting tip, like showing an actual lift and how to do different techniques and variations better, and then alternate with kind of just some talking tips, some program design ideas or structure of how to put your lifts and where to do certain things just in a conversational pattern through YouTube. It's really easy to kind of get that out there and give information to people. And
Okay.
then just a piece of parting advice, learn from everyone. And you got to just kind of keep your eyes open. I've learned some really important stuff from the skinny kid next to me in the squat rack at, just your regular public gyms. And also from some real giants like, Mel Siff and Dave Tate. And you can take these nuggets from lots of different areas and coalesce them into making yourself a better lifter, a better coach. I've used a lot of information from, I'm lucky in this, my cousin, the mental aspect of how
Corey.
to approach things. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Corey, right?
Yes, Corey Probst. She's one, do not mess with her in the gym because you'll lose. And two, she's so stinking smart that not only will you lose to her, she'll then make you feel better about it.
Yeah, we're going to have her on too. I can't wait, actually. That'll be
You're
fantastic.
gonna love that. You really will.
Yeah, definitely. So you're right, though. I mean, you can learn from a lot of people. A lot of guys think you got to learn from the champ, and definitely, obviously, you want to learn from the champ. But some people who may have gotten second, third, fourth, whatever, just like I mentioned before, they can also teach you, right? They can also teach you. Especially, it was an interview I did with Josh Bryant. He said, if somebody's not really built for a lift and they do well at it, so let's say long arms, good bencher, or short arms and a good puller,
Right.
you probably would want to talk to that person, especially if you're built like them, because they probably have something that they could teach you.
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking at someone who probably shouldn't be good at something, if you look at the outside and they are, how hard did they have to struggle to get there? How many different things did they have to try and test this to really get good at something compared to someone who's just a natural deadlifter and they just pull a ton? They probably just would be good at it no matter what they did in some sense. So I totally agree with you. Look to those people that had to fight to get to where they were, and I think you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Some real solid advice there. So, Luke, thank you. I really appreciate that. For those of you listening right now, definitely go to the show notes page, superstrengthshow.com, and make sure you put in Luke's name. So it's actually interesting because when I saw the spelling, I was like, oh man, how is this pronounced? But it's actually pronounced exactly the way it sounds and it's spelt the way it sounds. So it's Luke, Luke, and then Propst, it's Propst. So put that in, you'll find the show notes page, and then on the show notes page, you're going to have access to this interview if you want to listen to it again, or if you want to download it. You will have access to the different platforms that we're on, iTunes, Stitcher, you name it. Also, we will have links to all of the good stuff that Luke has mentioned, including, it was Quinn, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get more information on him, and we're going to make sure that we connect to any type of information he may have, because that is some vitally important stuff there. So we'll have links to everything, ways to get a hold of Luke, his social media, dietdoc.com, predatorstrengthtraining.com. We'll have links to all of that. Make sure you go visit all of that stuff, guys. I mean, Luke's been through a bit. He's had a pretty serious injury, and he's learned quite a bit from it. And it's people like that you really should go to learn from. I mean, Luke has said a couple times he's very humble, but he said a few times that going and learning from these people has been huge. And guess what? The same can be done if you go and learn from him. He's been there, he's done that, and he's overcome quite a bit. And, I don't think you're not somebody who's very bombastic, right, Luke? You're not someone
No.
who's really into, going over top and promoting yourself and whatnot. But I mean, Luke is on top of his stuff. He really knows what he's doing. And I highly, highly recommend checking him out. And other than that, Luke, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Ray, thank you. I really appreciated you giving me a chance to chat a little bit. Thank you.
No problem at all. If anything, your level of experience and dedication to this has more than you've more than earned the time to share that information with others. And if anything, we're the ones who lucked out. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, guys. With that being said, as always, train smart, train hard, and we'll talk to you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Super Strength Show and to get access to all-inclusive interviews and courses, visit superstrengthshow.com.